Hey, folks. Well, good afternoon.
I'm Colin Binkley. I'm an education reporter for the Associated Press in Washington. President Biden is unveiling his long-awaited student debt cancellation plan. It will cancel $10,000 in federal student debt per person and an additional $10,000 for students who received federal Pell Grants in college. Those are people who had lower incomes. For both of those groups, it includes income caps of $125,000 for an individual or $250,000 for a household. And at the same time, President Biden is extending a student loan repayment freeze that started early in the pandemic, and he's pushing that until the end of the year.
All this means people can finally crawl out from under that mountain of debt to get on top of their rent and their utilities.
With this news, a lot of people have been wondering whether they qualify. We're here to answer those questions right now. It's important to note that this applies only to federal student loans, not private student loans. So these are loans that people have taken out directly from the federal government. Anyone can qualify as long as they're within the income cap, but it does not apply to people who already paid off their student loans before that, or people who are about to take on new student debt to go to college. The income cap, the administration says that's really intended to target the relief to people who need it most, but it's also intended to head off an argument from critics that this is sort of an unfair handout to the wealthy, that it's an additional perk for college graduates who already earn higher incomes than other people, and perhaps at the expense of taxpayers who did not go to college. This has the potential to reduce federal student debt for tens of millions of people. So we know that there are 43 million Americans who have a combined $1.6 trillion in student debt, according to the Education Department. And the Biden administration says that this plan could eliminate entirely the student debt for more than 20 million people. And that's because most borrowers actually have smaller amounts of student debt. You hear a lot about stories about people who have $100,000 or more in student debt. But actually, about a third of borrowers have $10,000 or less, and more than half have $20,000 or less. So for those borrowers, this could really take out all or a very large chunk of their federal student debt. Most people will need to apply to get their loans canceled through this plan. There are a small number of students, borrowers, who the federal government already has their income data, so they can say, yep, you meet that cap and we're going to do this for you. But the vast majority would need to apply, and there's no application process yet. The government says that that's going to be coming in coming weeks, is what they say. This does not apply to people who have already paid off their student loans. It applies only to people who currently have a balance with the federal government, and people on both sides of the political aisle have criticized that element of student debt cancellation. They say it's unfair. People who have worked really hard to pay off their debt, and now they miss out on this benefit. The rebuttal from the Biden administration is that it's great that they were able to do that. It's a testament to their hard work, but that it isn't a reason to deprive other people of relief now. The major caveat to all of this is that the plan is almost certainly going to be challenged in court. Previous presidents have eliminated smaller amounts of debt for targeted groups of students, but it's never been done at this scale for this many millions of people. And so all along there's been a question about whether this is legal, whether the executive branch can do this without approval from Congress. And that's something that Republicans have said that they're going to challenge. They said they'll take it to court. It's just right now waiting to see who's going to file it and what the argument is going to be. Presumably it has to be someone who can say that they were personally injured as a result of this. So we need to find out whether that's going to be a student loan servicer or maybe somebody who was left out of the plan.